your story is, not the unique story, and you talk about kind of messing around with the team and messing around with the tent. I remember walking in Wisconsin, and they're watching your kind of kid kart video from back in the day where you were racing around at, I believe it was G&J.
Yeah.
So I guess take me back, to the start of your career and how it all came together. Take me all the way through, your cadet days, your junior days, and then how it kind of came about where you were a SCUSA Pro Tour champion this year.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I've been karting for 12, 13 years now. So I've been doing it for a long time. It started with my grandpa. I mean, he loved anything with an engine and wheels on it. He had his own automotive repair shop. In Cincinnati, where I live, he was like the guy on the radio who answered the phone calls if people got problems with their cars and stuff. But yeah, he got my dad into karting. My dad did it for a few years at the local club. And did a few street races and WK events back in like the 80s and 90s. But then he moved his cars for a while before I was born, and then I was born and I got my first kid kart when I was 4. But I mean, honestly, I was terrified of it. I didn't like it all that much. But yeah, I was supposed to do my first race as soon as I turned 5. But then over the winter, and that was winter of 2010. I ended up getting really sick over the winter, and after went to the hospital for a few times. I was diagnosed with kidney cancer. I had cancerous growth. I had a cancerous growth on both my kidneys, and had to fight through that. And was in the hospital for a few months. But honestly, I feel like that's part of the reason why I still do this. So when I was in the hospital, I got to spend a lot of time with my dad, and kind of just found out a lot of what I love to do, and what I like for example, on the weekends, I'd watch NASCAR every weekend. And that was about the time when Jimmy Johnson was really doing good. And that's kind of who I fell in love with watching. So you see me rocking the 48. That's because of him. And me and my dad's, we've worked together since day one, and we kind of look up to Jimmy and his crew chief, Chad Knaus. So yeah, all that. And then I finally did get back in the kart, but I was only a club racer for years. I mean, all the way up through kid kart, I only raced club. Did a few years in sportsman, 3-hole Yamaha, then 4-hole Yamaha. Did a little bit of Briggs, but always stayed local and never traveled much. But and the little traveling we did, we started to go to some of the WK events when WK was still big. But outside of that, stayed local for a really long time. And really didn't start to travel all that much until I moved up, or it was like my last year in sportsman. I started to go down to GoPro for a lot of the club races or Trackhouse, and worked with the Nitro Kart team. And I was kind of on I was on like the first initial like founding team of Nitro Kart with a couple other young drivers and Swift. But it was really the first time I was introduced to like driver coaching, and I was really able to get a lot better from that, and just the kind of resources they had. They had Ashley Ruggiero as one of the coaches. I think Austin Garrison was a coach at a couple of the races. So it was really cool to really learn and get better from them. But I was still pretty young and didn't really know what I was doing and like taking in that information. So once I moved up to junior, I feel like that's when I really started to grow with, and especially kind of learn the sport more with setup and how just things work, honestly. But that's when I started to run more of the CKNA events and the Briggs, and where we really started to get fast with that. And honestly, for a long time, I struggled with the two-stroke stuff, so we kind of focused more on Briggs for a really long time, especially all through junior. And I feel like that's where I really started to put myself on the map, was running the CKNA races, getting a lot of the wins through that, and then eventually winning my first Grand Nationals in 2021. And when I was getting ready to move to senior, I was kind of hoping that I could be fast. I didn't think I would win right out of the gate, but I was just hoping to be competitive. And we went down to Daytona and Jacksonville for my first 2 senior races, and we did really well. I was able to win at Daytona in 206, and I won at Jacksonville. I actually beat Brandon Jarvis Crack on the last lap, and I feel like that's honestly what kind of put me on the map on by John Seglem, who owns PPK, which I'll get to him in a minute. But yeah, I moved on with 2022. When I first moved up to senior, went to the CKNA Spring Nationals, swept there, won senior light and senior medium. And then later on that summer, John Seglem contacted my dad. He wanted me to do a arrive and drive down at a SSKC race in Florida, and went down there and was able to win. And he actually had Brandon come down, and that's where we really started to meet Charles Crack and get to know him a little bit better. And through the rest of the year, we were kind of looking forward to maybe working with Brandon on the two-stroke side, because we always wanted to get better in the two-stroke, but it wasn't our biggest priority. So later on in the year, had CKNA Grands, finished second in medium, didn't win, but still we kind of felt like at the end of that year, like we kind of accomplished most of what we needed to or wanted to do in Briggs. And we kind of wanted to get better in the two-stroke stuff because, like I said, I think in my interviews after the SCUSA races, like I looked up to the people who won the SCUSA and USPKS races for so long, and never really thought that would be me, but always like kind of wanted to make a push to try to do that. So we decided that we wanted to work with Brandon a little bit, because we were like kind of in the tent experience before with the Nitro Kart guys, but we kind of moved away from that and tried to do our own thing at the big races, but just got destroyed. I mean, I was trying to like not be in the LCQs and stuff. So yeah, I started to work with Brandon a little bit, and that's where we really found out what a big problem was one, my driving was a pretty big problem. I wasn't the best driver in a K, but it was also the motor program. I mean, we didn't work that hard or focus that much on a K motor program, but we quickly found out that you need a good motor to compete at these races. And that's where Brandon, he really helped connecting us with BBS and just getting better driver coaching. I mean, with all that, I mean, I've been able to just get better every race. I feel like, learn more, and that was a big part of last year. Working with Brandon all year was just getting better each race, and I was always showing that I could be fast, but just couldn't put it all together, especially with the racecraft side of things. So he kind of helped with all that the past few years. And then this year, I feel like we've really been able to put it all together and have just been working away at it, and eventually was finally able to get those wins and be a SCUSA champion, which, like I said, I mean, a few years ago, I would have thought you were crazy if you said I was going to win a SCUSA championship at this time. But yeah, it's super cool. But I can't thank Brandon enough for changing me as a driver and making me that much better, turning me from a Briggs racer to a really good K racer and a two-stroke. So yeah, it's been a long journey for sure.
Yeah.
I probably missed some things in there, some of the important parts, but that was just a brief overview. I mean, it's 12 years is a long time, but made a lot of memories through it, and have fell in love with the sport more and more each day.